My name is Rahul Gaikwad, and this event is being hosted by SC/ST OBC students and teachers organization, University of Mumbai and Roundtable India. I welcome the chief guest, Mr. Suresh Mani sir, who needs no introduction, but still I'll briefly tell you about his profile. He is an eminent lawyer and also a scholar, visiting faculty at many reputed universities also across. And he is also the General Secretary of the Bahujan Samaj Party. We started off this debate, in fact, not we, I should say it was started by Roundtable India, and now it has culminated into a wide, it has got wide attention also. So it was quite natural for us from out here. I myself would not like to claim to be representing particularly the association or the Roundtable India, but as an Ambedkarite, the foot soldier of the entire debate that is happening, we at Mumbai thought this was our responsibility to provide this forum, this platform. So we are the organizers, and I'm one of the people, one of the faces. Now, as far as Mani sir, I've already briefly informed. We have Anup Kumar, who is again from Roundtable India. He has, to his credit, he is one of the beginners of this particular debate. If you see the history of Roundtable India, it was initiated by Anup Kumar. So we have right with us right now. Also, the very popularly known Kufir. For me, as an individual, I would briefly tell you exactly who I am and what I am. As I said, I'm just one of the foot soldiers of the Ambedkarite movement, not necessarily the only organization that are holding this. So, this debate started with the fact that S. Anand, the publisher of Navyana, who came out with this edition, it was supposedly called Annotated Critical Edition. Now, in fact, he had caught fancy and caught imagination of many. So even I, at an individual level, also had sent him quite a few appreciating mails. I mean, at least one for sure, at least two for sure, and thought probably he is the one who is a kind of interlocutor or a mediator for conveying the ideas to the other class. So, but now when we see the enterprise, when we see exactly how these things have shaped up, we realize that this is an appropriation and this is a statement to begin with. We are not here to justify our arguments, but rather dissect exactly what we see through this entire enterprise. So we do not seek anyone's approval, but rather we are here to only discuss and debate. Now, welcome Kufir. So we have Kufir also here. Now, just to tell you exactly how this entire program would be held here. First, we'll have few speakers who, like Kufir, Mani sir, then Anup Kumar, James also. Even Gaurav would like to share some of his views. And only after that, whatever questions that you may have, those could be taken up only after the discussion is over. So we'll be opening this forum for the discussion or the questions rather, only after the speakers are done with the idea to begin with. And then we thought probably, okay, this is an attempt which could probably help to propagate Baba Sahib for the people who have been averse to his ideas, or probably for some reasons or some machinations he is out of the main discourse. So from this perspective, we had some hopes, and there is absolutely no personal enmity or nothing to begin with as far as caste or the class is concerned. Now when we see exactly how this enterprise has turned out, if we see this debate by Ms. Arundhati Roy has been reduced to only play out Gandhi and Baba Sahib duel or debate. So is this an annihilation of caste? If it is not, and if it is only Gandhi Baba Sahib debate, and the ideal book to comment would have been probably Baba Sahib's what Gandhi and Congress have done to the untouchables. Now, why that has been kept out of the discourse and why this book has been appropriated to play out this debate is a very, this is something which is not understood yet by us. And we are questioning them, we are asking them, why have you done such kind of thing? And if we are questioning if this is an appropriation or this is usurpation, we are being blamed casteist. Okay. Now she has absolute right to name people, Gandhi being the Baniya and the other being the Brahmins, when we name their privileges and how they come to, put across this entire narrative, we are being, we are being named regressive and being the casteist people. So here, leaving aside that argument or leaving aside such charges, we are here to engage with exactly what we are trying to put across. And we have the dignitaries out here to share their views. In fact, this is the work carried forward by Rufilda, Anup Kumar, James Michael, Anu Randas, who is not here at the moment, and many others from Roundtable India. So it is their work, and I'm one of the people who is trying to make sure that the Baba Sahib's work is carried forward, his legacy is carried forward in right earnest. Now what is happening with this book? I'll just share a few of my feelings about this book and what I've come to understand of this book. This book portrays Baba Sahib being Brahminical, who has helped to usurp the land of the, the land, tribal land being usurped by the government, and probably these are the charges, these are baseless charges. These are the charges one could have engaged with, but then the very enterprise itself is what we refute here. It is not annihilation of caste, it is an appropriation. She has, now if I will talk in market dynamics, this is the branding, marketing and positioning of the book. Now this is being marketed as a book of annihilation of caste. She is trying to bring out the seminal text, but this is being positioned as a Gandhi Baba Sahib dual book. So there is a real fear that probably the generation of tomorrow would know that this debate, or this book rather, has got only to do with another Baba Sahib Gandhi argument. And if you really engage with the book, there is hardly or just one reference of Gandhi's out here by Baba Sahib. So this is not the annihilation of caste for sure. Then why is this title being appropriated? That is our question. Second, if we go ahead, if we see, under the garb of introducing annihilation of caste, she has tried to comment on Baba Sahib and his entire body politic. Is that justified, or has she done enough research? What is her prior engagement? These are the questions we are asking. We are not refuting her claim to right just because she belongs to a particular caste, not at all. There is absolutely no history, there is no critical engagement with this text, and this is simply an appropriation. That's what we want to say. Now, why is this title, The Coronation of Ambedkar? See, right now this is the immediate reason or immediate enterprise being the annihilation of caste. But this guy, supposedly the Dalit friend, Mr. S. Anand, has got some other titles to his credit. I will say the titles to his credit because he has appropriated those also, and those will be dwelt upon by Rufilda and others. Because there is a project of erasing Dr. Ambedkar, Baba Sahib, from the public memory by appropriating his work, not naming, not giving him the credential, and bringing about his research, and it is being attached to somebody else and being sold as the seminal work by him. So it's the seminal work by the authors brought in by S. Anand. So Arundhati Roy happens to be a handpicked celebrity. She is probably not as well versed. Of course, that shows through her debates. But then S. Anand is the guy who is the real person who has been maneuvering all the things. And this is only the I would say a product for the market, not for the real engagement and real credit. Now with this brief introduction, I will pass on this discussion, and I'll invite the next speaker, Mr. Anup Kumar. Thank you.
My name is Anup, and I'm not an academician or a very accomplished speaker, so please excuse me if I'm not very coherent in what I'm trying to share, because this is something which, this issue has been a very emotionally draining for some of us, till now, till today. And there are a lot of arguments which have come up for and against. And so I will try to speak my own point of view. I'm not representing here the entire, writers of the Roundtable India. There are more than 30 writers who have written from different parts of country and different spheres of life. Many of them are students, some of them are journalists, some of them are just plain activists across the country. So I'm not here trying to represent the entire gamut of of the arguments which have come in this debate, but I will try to put forward what I felt when I saw this, on 27th February probably. But I will like to give you a little bit of context to it, because otherwise the whole debate is being just reduced to that we are opposing her just because she is a caste woman. No, it was never. If you look at our arguments, we have never said this. So the thing is that this whole debate gets decontextualized, and there is this whole pushes towards to misjudge what we are trying to say. So here I would like to give some context. See, for us, this is not something which has to do only with Arundhati Roy or even with Asanand. There is a history behind it, and that is what I want to contextualize. I've been a student of JNU, and I have seen these debates earlier also. When I joined JNU in 2001, there was this whole thing in Hindi. I'm from a Hindi belt, so this whole debate was there about the Dalit literature. Suddenly there were a lot of autobiographies which have come up. Om Prakash Valmiki, a lot of other Dalits have been writing, and then this sudden debate comes that what is Dalit literature? Can only Dalit write a Dalit text or Dalit literature? And there were lots of debate. And as a student, I was reading all this, and there was this magazine called Hans, which was very in the forefront. And what I saw was that none of the Dalits are actually arguing that only Dalits can write. But this whole debate, the moment that they claim that there is something called Dalit literature, and the moment they claim their own agency to write about their, about their pain, about their struggle, immediately this debate comes up that, non-Dalits can also write, and when you push us in a corner, I have seen that in several interviews, all the writers, Dalit writers were pushed into a corner to take a stand. Right? Whether they want to enter into that debate or not, they were all pushed into this corner. Can Dalit write? Can non-Dalit write on Dalit? Non-Dalits have been writing on Dalit since time immemorial. Nobody has stopped them. Now, how can a Dalit stop a non-Dalit? This is a ridiculous question. Non-Dalits have been writing, and they have been writing extensively. Till now, only they have been writing. So this is the first time, some of us have started writing. Some of us have started articulating, and then this whole debate comes up, and these are all manufactured debates. All, Manager Pandey, all those Hindi stalwarts who have never taken Dr. Ambedkar's name, who have never written on caste, suddenly they say that, no, we have been writing on caste, we are also, why you are segregating, why you are, creating a division between a Dalit literature or non-Dalit literature, literature is literature. And none of us have actually, I was just a student, I was just reading. None of the Dalit literary person actually said this, that, that there should be a segregation. The only thing that they were saying was their own claim of agency, right? That, yeah, we are writing our experiences, and this is what it is, And none of these, writers are your, from academia, so they never had that sophisticated language, So this was a very interesting debate, and this was my first learning experience as a graduate student, and it appeared very funny to me because this went on for more than 7-8 years, and it went on long. 7-8 years is a huge time. But then what I understood was that this whole this claiming of an agency by a Dalit is a big problem. That, yeah, I am a Dalit and I am writing. The moment if I claim that I am a Dalit, it is considered as if I am accusing all non-Dalits, right? So this whole time, so we have this organization called UDSF, United Dalit Student Forum, in JNU, and I was part of that. So we used to invite all those people, big shots who used to work on caste, irrespective of their caste background. So we used to call all upper caste also. Many of them. Some very senior person, I won't name him right now, but he's one of the most senior person, working on tribal issues and Dalit issues, and we just had, we had our brochure, United Dalit Student Forum, and we gave him that brochure to him, we just printed it and we were very excited. And the first thing he says that, why this word Dalit? Why you want to segregate yourself? And we were very shocked because we didn't understand what he's trying to say. So the thing was that then some of us understand that the word itself was the problem. So you see there is a history behind it, and whenever we try to articulate, whenever we try to assert, there is always an opposition. So there is always some kind of, we are treated like criminals, right? So why you are saying that it's literature, you are breaking, you are segregating literature. If you claim that your writing is a Dalit writing, then it means that no non-Dalit can write. No, these are very manufactured debate, and I do not participate in it normally. It is the same way when you, the same thing happens when you talk, the moment you talk about, utter the word caste, the first reaction from upper caste is, what about reservation? Reservation is doing this, and they will not listen to you. They will not listen to what point you are making, and they just want to reduce that debate to reservation, because that is their issue. Because that is what hurts them. Reservation doesn't hurt me at all, so it is not my issue. For me, reservation debate is settled when Constitution was written. I am not interested in debating reservation, whether reservation is good or bad. That is your debate. Because it affects you, it hurts you, and that is what it is. I'm going to talk about caste. I'm going to talk about discrimination. I'm going to talk about atrocities. I'm going to talk about all the things which my community people go through. Because that is what is important for me. Reservation is important. So this is what, so in this debate also the same thing happened, that the moment we started writing, immediately this whole reduction happened that we are being casted, and Arundhati Roy has done this, Arundhati Roy has done that. But what we are saying is that I was the first one to write actually on Facebook, and in the very first few status messages I made it very clear that we are talking here about a structure. We are not interested in, fighting with Arundhati Roy or S. Anand. There is a structure behind it. And when you say that, you need to introduce Ambedkar. I want to ask, why this need has come? It means that Ambedkar was not there in your syllabus. Ambedkar was not there in your academia, in your discourses. Why it was not? You finally say one day that, okay, fine, today I am going to introduce Ambedkar because Ambedkar is not there. I want to ask, fine, I can introduce Ambedkar, but please let us talk about why Ambedkar was not there, why this need has arisen. Dalits have been talking about Ambedkar since last 70, 80 years. And many say that we only talk about Ambedkar. So much we talk about Ambedkar, and it is not part of your curriculum, it is not part of your, in 2001 when I joined, I will tell you lots of examples I can give you. In seminars, in sociology seminars, caste was discussed but Ambedkar was not discussed. And some of us, we were little, very cruel to our teachers actually. We used to pop up this question Ambedkar. And immediately the facial expressions, immediately, we were looked down as if we are criminals. So when I speak from that history. It is not that I am someday, one fine day I just, I found some upper caste woman writing and I just raise an issue. No, I have a history. I have a history of struggle where I have struggled to even talk about caste in class, in my own class. I have been called criminal, I have been called introducing politics, and this is about JNU campus and my engineering college. So it is not some village I am talking about. It is the very, very symbol of modern progressive India I am talking about. And this also I want to, let's get back a little bit. What I see, this is my own interpretation of Indian history. You may agree or disagree, but this is what I want to put forward. That there are three main ideologies, which are upper caste-led ideology, left, right, and a nationalist, secular center. And if you go through the literature which they have produced in all three, Dalits were always as footnotes, right? And in all these three ideologies, in last 60 years, they have not been able to do, what to do with Ambedkar. What to do about caste, what to do about Ambedkar. So you will see they have a very ambivalent relationship with Ambedkar till 1990s, late 90s. If you take up this right wing, earlier there was so much opposition, but later, in 1980s, they started claiming him as kind of a Hindu social reformer, and then, but they were just taking one aspect of Ambedkar as a Hindu social reformer, and even his portrait was there in the Advani Rath Yatra. But simultaneously, you will see that there were always tensions, within all these three camps on what to make out of Ambedkar. They cannot even talk completely about Ambedkar, and they cannot even not talk about Ambedkar. So they have these strategies. So you see, on one hand, RSS is saying that he is a social reformer. On the other hand, Arun Shourie is coming out with a book condemning Ambedkar. And this was there in all the three camps. So on one hand, you will see, if you read all the CPM literatures and resolution, Dr. Ambedkar is treated as a stooge of British imperialism. And suddenly in 1990s, they started, appropriating him. I won't say appropriating, but yeah, accepting him in the sense that now he becomes a bourgeois democrat. So the language, it's all the game of language actually. And if you see the center, secular, right, this whole Congress thing. So if you read Bipin Chandra on one hand and Ramchandra Guha on the other hand. So for Bipin Chandra, Ambedkar is a failure and Gandhi is a hero. For Ramchandra Guha, he becomes, both Gandhi and Ambedkar are complementary to each other. And this debate comes at, and this is happening when Gandhi has been portrayed as the sole, fighter against untouchability for last 60 years. Only Gandhi has been, and the moment it comes 1990s, when there is a Dalit assertion, there is a shift among upper caste, and then they try to give little bit of space. So I see this is something as a historical process where, post 90s or in late 80s, there is a little bit of acceptance of Ambedkar, right? And then, but it's not a complete acceptance. They all have taken one or two aspects of Ambedkar and appropriated it. I'm trying to appropriate it. I'm not saying that they have appropriated it. They cannot, And I don't believe that they even Anand can appropriate. But the debate is necessary. So these, and along with this appropriation of what to do, along with this debate, along with this, on what to make out of Ambedkar and caste, then there is a very strong narrative of upper caste being casteless, being played out post-independence. The moment India gets independent, if you see, there was a cartoon debate 2 years back, and in that, we took a stand and we started, looking at all the cartoons, a lot of, cartoonists were there pre-independence. And if you see their cartoons during those times, they were able to clearly show a Brahmin, they were talking about Brahminism. They made photos of Brahmins who were being obscurantists, and they were with a very symbol of Brahmin, as a Brahmin male with choti, and all of them were present in the cartoon. The moment India gets independent, all those cartoons vanish. There is no more talk on, this is one very good example I found that pre-independence there was a space, there was a space where people were talking about caste, but what actually happens, I'm very curious. What happens that post-independence, there is, the cartoon, last 30, 35 years I have been reading newspapers and almost all newspapers have some cartoons or the other cartoonist speaking cartoon, but I never found a single cartoon talking about caste. I have never found a single cartoon which shows Brahmin as a symbol of casteism. Suddenly there is a common man, R.K. Lakshman. So common man is a casteless man, Common man has nothing to do with caste. So common man, and so common man, when, I saw one cartoon of R.K. Lakshman, when V.P. Singh, made this Mandal Commission report, another, there was a cartoon R.K. Lakshman made. And the common man is worried because the whole India is burning. So the whole India, so the common man is hurt that because V.P. Singh has given reservation, accepted Mandal Commission, so this common man is very hurt, and he is watching the whole India die, being burned. So this is very curious. I became very curious. So then I understood that there is this whole narrative of castelessness. So your identity as an Indian or a Hindu, or a secular Indian, these identities got promoted whereas the caste. So now, what happens is, if I say I am a Dalit, the moment, immediately the upper caste gets offended. Immediately, and I get criminalized. You are a criminal. You are bringing caste. We are above caste. So and I always wonder, they live and die in caste. I also live and probably die in caste only. And how can they say that they are about caste? And so if you see is how this whole narrative of castelessness has come. This narrative of castelessness have been all these three ideologies have been guilty of that, and that is one of my biggest problem with this, because it's not only makes it difficult for me to talk about caste, it actually makes me a criminal about talking about caste. So when I talk about, when as a student I used to talk about caste, immediately this branding and their abuses and threats and all kinds of, and these used to often happen from the most progressive students, the comrades. And you are bringing caste, caste is a problem, they will accept, yes, caste is a problem, but class is, so all these debate, this is again a manufactured debate, that class is they try to, the moment we talk about class, they talk about class, and then they pretend that we are not interested in class. None of the Dalit activists I have interacted with or I have worked with, is averse to Marxism or is averse to class debate. Yes, class is there, we are not stupid or blind people. But the moment we talk about caste, you bring about class. So these are all, what I say is that you have to see, the questions of debates are important, but the politics of the debate is also very important. The moment we brought about the debate of the book, the first question they asked us, have you read the book? I said, I don't need to read the book. I want to talk about the politics of the book. Is it a crime to talk about the politics of the book? Content I will read and I will debate on that. But are you telling me that there is no politics behind writing? Are you telling me that there is no politics of publishing? Are you telling me that there is no politics of printing? Then there cannot be any debate. Then I am a criminal for you because I am trying to shut up someone. I am against freedom of expression. You can carry on because these abuses doesn't matter to me. I have grown up listening abuses. The moment I am a non-meritorious who has come into engineering college. So from the first day, most of the Dalits are the abusers doesn't matter to me, honestly speaking. Because if it makes you happy, go for it. But that is not the debate, and I will not budge from you. The moment, whatever you call me a fascist, or I was called a misogynist because it seems that I am against Arundhati Roy because she is a woman. So all these, so it's okay, good for you, So this is what this was the context, and now I will come to this. Why I oppose this, and why some of us, took a stand. The first thing is that, if you see, it started on Facebook, and there was this whole, the whole planning was happening on Facebook, and the Facebook is a very funny space because this is the only space which gives me a window to look into how upper caste are thinking. Because I have otherwise no clue about, so there are a lot of upper caste who interact, and then I'm able to look into their, what they are debating, what are they thinking. So it's a very good, it has been a very good learning experience for me. So what I saw was that everyone is congratulating us, Anand, for making Arundhati Roy read Ambedkar. Everybody is congratulating Arundhati Roy for reading Ambedkar. Everybody is, congratulating and there is a team of people involved in this. There are second-run academicians, young academicians sitting in Germany, sitting in here, who are part of this project. This is not one person. So they are congratulating each other because they have been cited. So Arundhati Roy has cited one academician, so he is gloating over it on Facebook, and that I found very obnoxious. And suddenly, this whole thing appears as if, there is a whole project, and then I started with a very, small status messages. I wrote just 3-4 status messages, and immediately the response was, it was a very, very abusive response. Suddenly everybody started abusing. So it means the moment, as if, if I have spoken against Arundhati Roy or the book, I have committed some crime, which actually initially what happened that I was also very skeptical, It's not that everything is not clear in your head, you get some hunch, that this is something wrong, but you're not able to articulate, right? So I was always in this, initial period, I had to, lot of this, I have to fight, mentally that whether the stand which I am taking is correct or wrong. Because the problem with this is that if one Dalit speaks, immediately the branding happens with the whole Dalit community. So I'm always very wary of what I speak, because if I speak about Asanand, that Asanand being a Brahmin says this. The moment if I talk about the entire Brahmin, there will be 100 Brahmin who will come and say, no. See, this Brahmin is very good, that Brahmin is very good. You cannot blame. But if you see their literature, so if you see, I will give you just one small example. After this Modi got elected, there is number of articles in EPW and the Hindu have come where they have said that how Dalits are getting Hinduized. And they are all doing very, in a very sorrowful tone that see, Dalits are getting Hinduized and Modi is. But I have never seen one single article saying that Brahmins or upper caste are the biggest vote chunk of Modi. You should be worried about them because they are the people who have brought Modi. There was one article on the tutor Sena of Modi in Outlook, I guess, and there was this whole a kind of what you say profile of all the tutors, the people who follow Modi and the internet Hindus. Sorry, I forgot the word. So everything was there. Everything was given on the profile, what they do, what is their age group. The only thing was missing was their caste profile. So you are not looking into what upper caste are doing, what RSS is, how it has come up, who are the most blind supporters, who are the people sitting in foreign countries and giving money, and who have this built whole the Modi mania about the whole media which constructed this. What you are worried about is how the Dalits. So the entire onus now is that it is the Dalits and the OBCs who have brought Modi into power. So you have again, criminalized more than half of the Indian population. Whereas Modi gets only 31%, BJP got 31%. And if with all this talk of secular and all this, if actually Dalits and Adivasis start voting for BJP, nobody can stop it. You have no idea that we are more than 25 crores and Modi would have won all the seats. So all these, so this is what I am wary of, It's very easy for them to brand us. So if the same thing happened in cartoon debate. The moment some Dalits started opposing, immediately the Dalits are becoming fundamentalists, Dalits are against freedom of expression, Dalits are against this, Dalits are getting fanatic, Dalits are treating Ambedkar as a god. So all this starts flowing and this unsettles me a lot because we are very few who read and write in English, and it becomes very difficult because we get very ghettoized. We get very targeted because some of us are the only one who are writing on Facebook or on net. So all this was happening in this debate also. But so the initial was all those shocks and all they came. But I will go back to that. I'm just digressing. I'm sorry for that. But about the whole project. So my question was, when what I was asking was, this whole narrative which was being built around this book, that Ambedkar needs introduction, Ambedkar needs to go to West, Ambedkar, the upper caste people need to engage Ambedkar, and that is why Arundhati Roy has to write this. That was the narrative which was being sold to us, and that is what we are challenging. That when you are saying that Ambedkar, you need Ambedkar to be introduced, I want to say that please first let us fight what actually stopped Ambedkar to get introduced till now. When Dalits have been fighting all over Ambedkar, Dalits have been carrying Ambedkar for their life. Why Ambedkar was not part of your academia? Why Ambedkar is not part of your media discourses? You are not challenging that. No, and you are exactly using the same structures, the very same structures which do not allow us to introduce Ambedkar, but allows only Arundhati Roy to introduce it. I'm challenging that, and I want to challenge that. I'm challenging the structure. I'm not challenging one person. Then these questions were never answered. The only thing got answered was, you guys are opposing us because she's a baka, Okay, fine, if you think like that, it's okay. No, I'm not going to defend myself on this, because that is not what we are saying. This is your debate. Then this whole thing came that Ambedkar needs to get, so the moment we, the moment we questioned this, that, Ambedkar being introduced to the West, immediately the response was, then why do Dalits go to United Nations? You should not go to United Nations, then if you are. So these were the kinds of, so if we oppose Arundhati Roy taking Ambedkar to, we are not opposing her, we are just questioning her. And the worst part was that when we said that, there is a problem in this, there is a problem in the narrative which you are building, right? Then they started saying that, any Dalit who would have written this introduction, this would have synced the edition. This is the exact word written by S. Anand and his friends. So it meant that, and they named it. They said that if Gopal Guru would have written it, nobody would buy. If Tel Tumre would have written it, nobody would buy. So these are the arguments. This is what I am challenging. If Gopal Guru is writing something and it is not being bought by an upper caste, the problem lies there, not with this. You have to understand this. And it is you who are bringing Arundhati Roy's caste in this. You are saying that only upper caste will read Ambedkar only if an upper caste introduces it. And this is a very casteist statement you are making. You are just wiping out the entire our history, and that is what I am against. And it is you who have brought Arundhati Roy's caste in this debate. We never asked this caste. You only said that upper caste and the white people will read only when Arundhati Roy will write. So what makes Arundhati Roy and Anup Kumar or Kufir or, see, I am not claiming that I am a big writer or something, but there are many good writers among Dalits, and Dalits have been producing literature throughout the last 60-70 years. You go and watch any Dalit bookshop, most of the, you will see some fantastic literature. But if that literature is not coming in your, and then this whole argument came down, very, sorry to say this, very stupid and casteist and racist argument came that Dalits have victimized Ambedkar. Now, I am amazed. How can, tell me what I have done to victimize Ambedkar? It is you who have never accepted Ambedkar. It is you who have never accepted Ambedkar, and you are blaming me for your not accepting Ambedkar. So here also I am a criminal, or Dalits are criminals. So all these debates were happening, and suddenly, initially I was very surprised that, I am nobody. I am not an academia, I am not an activist, I am just some, what they term me as a social media Dalit, a fanatic social media Dalit. I just write status messages. So suddenly why my status messages were taken so much importance that they have been talking endlessly about it. Everybody from TISS to JNU, all comrades, all left liberals have been started abusing me. They ganged up against us. So what actually happened was, it was in our favor, because the more they spoke, the more casteist thing came up, because Arundhati Roy is such a big icon, When I wrote first, I was scared. I was like, what I have done, they will lynch me. So, but the moment they started saying, a lot of Dalits, young Dalits, especially in JNU and TISS, they were looking at these debates. They were watching, they were reading very carefully. And then, the more they abused us, the more, the debate became prominent, and the more support we started getting. So it was like, a win-win situation for us, but all these, all these comments were being made that, Arundhati Roy is needed to introduce Ambedkar because only she can make upper caste read. So that is not I am going to sit and listen. No, this is a very racist argument you are making. And then, does it help us? Tell me, does it help us? I will give you another example. Last 20 years, Indian campuses, especially some central universities, have seen a tremendous Dalit student activism. Whether it is a TISS or JNU or, you will see, you go there, you will see a lot of Dalit students activism going on. And suddenly when this book comes up, every upper caste, there was this, I won't take another name of the university, there is a critical reading session, critical reading group which was formed based on this book. So last 20 years, Dalit students were struggling to make you read Ambedkar, that was not important for you. The moment an upper caste writes, it becomes, then you take up. So if you say that, good, okay, good, it is fine, Ambedkar is being read, then I will say that, then you have got wrong what Ambedkar means. What Ambedkar has meant to, the Dalit masses. Ambedkar, he was a brilliant writer. But for me, you have to understand this, For me, he is a symbol of my assertion. So the first thing a Dalit does when he asserts in the slum area or anywhere is to erect a statue. He is not trying to make him a god. Please understand this. This is his tool of assertion. The moment a statue is erected there in a slum, the others come to know that, yes, the Dalit assertion is there. And immediately, there is this strength which comes up. And this is also a symbol that by erecting a statue of Ambedkar, I am not going to take things lying down from here. It is the unfortunate thing is that history has been so cruel to us that the only symbol I have to fight the upper caste hegemony is Ambedkar.
Right.
Thank you very much.